Rob Mays, I'm an attorney.
We will consider the minutes from the February meeting of the HRC. The minutes include findings of fact and conclusions of law. Are there any corrections?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for February.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will now begin the evidentiary hearings for the items listed on the agenda. As a quasi-judicial proceeding, the HRC is not setting policy, nor are we soliciting public opinion on the desirability of an application. The HRC hears and considers evidence and applies the standards set forth in the guidelines and standards of the specific historical district for that application. The HRC must make its decision upon competent, material, and substantial evidence to determine the facts of the hearing. The HRC will use judgment and discretion to apply the standards contained in the relevant guidelines to the facts. The commissioners, in voting for an item, will not have a fixed opinion, not susceptible to change, have a conflict of interest, have engaged in ex parte communication regarding the application. The meeting is open to the public, but participation is limited to interested parties who wish to provide comment or testimony regarding the proposal. So everyone who intends to speak today, would you please come forward and raise your right hand?
If you might speak, you might as well.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for a certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. We'll now move on to our first public hearing item. Yes, can we have a motion to continue the first item that's listed on the agenda, 255 Cumberland for next month?
So moved.
Can we keep going? Just keep going. Even
That's
though
what
it-
we're checking. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was checking. But since we're keeping minutes, and she's trying to get somebody, we can go ahead.
Hello, Chair Oliva and members of the commission. I think it is important to have the live stream. I was saying earlier I had to check the transcript from last month, and there were 92 views of your last meeting, which seems like some kind of record. Usually there's like 4. So anyways, we will forge ahead though while we're waiting on the tech stuff to get ironed out. So thank you again. Our first item is an old business item from last month that you all will recall. 103 Cumberland Circle. The application is for site work. Just a refresher, the property is located on the corner of Cumberland Circle and Cumberland Avenue across from Montford Park. On the right-hand side is a photo of the subject property. This is existing and proposed site plan. So just to recap, the scope of work includes a rebuilding of a little retaining wall and set of stone steps that are on the west, adjacent to the west elevation of the house. The little set of steps that you see on the drawing that step down into the driveway that's farthest to the north in this drawing. And then resurfacing of the driveway, which has 2 arms that touch the street, and then installation of a metal picket fence. So, and then just a couple more slides here. Image on the right is the proposed fence type, and then on the left, the proposed driveway resurfacing material. Some site photos. Oh, sorry, I missed one other thing. That scope of work is adding flagstone walkway from the parking area in the rear of the primary structure, going around to the side of the accessory structure that's in the back there, and then also replacing the existing front walkways that are kind of broken red tile with flagstone as well. So the staff concerns that I shared with you all last month were related to siding of the fence. I'm not taking a stance on the fence. Just generally speaking, my issue with the fence was, if you'll notice the way that it, on the drawing on the right, is proposed to come directly into the front yard and connect in at the porch, which is, I've never seen a fence sited like that in Montford before. So that was my issue with the fence. And we talked through potentially bringing the fence across kind of more of a parallel line with the front facade of the house so that it can meet the corner, or, you know, be set back from that a little bit per the standards, which say that should be set back at least a foot behind the front building corner. That was my recommendation based on what the standards say, because that's part of the reason why that standard exists, to set a fence back from the 1 foot from the front building facade when it's in a side yard, because it would be unusual for it just to be tied straight into a front porch. I've just never seen that in the district. So my concern about that is still noted in the staff report. The other thing we talked about, sort of spent the most time talking about, was the driveway resurfacing, which I'm still not supportive of. The standards are written to say that driveways should be maintained and preserved on the historic properties that are in the district, and concrete. I know this seemed like a debatable thing, but concrete was a historic material in Montford, or is a historic material in Montford, and it is extremely prevalent throughout the district. And so I would ask the commission think about this if we were talking about where we didn't know what the driveway material was, and think about it from the district as a whole. If you all approve to change material for a driveway like this in this location, it basically conflicts with what the standards say, and then you really are setting a precedent for pretty much changing material of any existing driveway in Montford, in my opinion. And I think that's, in conflict with what the standards guide us on. So I'm still just going to go back to my suggestion that I made last time, that perhaps one meeting of compromise would be to do the pavers in the parking area towards the back of behind the house, and then the driveway portions coming up to the street being resurfaced with concrete, so that where you view it from the road, it still has the same appearance, basically. So that would be my suggestion as one solution that maybe has, because I understand there are drainage problems back there. I think the applicant did communicate that she's planning to do a French drain down in front of the accessory structure, which is where it levels out also. So hopefully that, built in with the pavers down there, will help alleviate some of the challenges with water intrusion in that area. So that is all I wanted to share with you today. So I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Sorry, can you just repeat what your suggestion was as far as where the papers would be down in the middle, but closer to the road, it would be concrete?
Yeah, so basically that whole big parking area that's between the primary structure and the accessory structure. We used to have a pointer, but I don't know what happened to our pointer, so I'm like pointing at the screen as if you can see where I'm pointing. But do you know the area that I'm describing? So basically that area being the paver material, and then the portions of the driveway coming up to the street or to the streets would be concrete, surfaced in concrete or repaired with concrete, so that they retain their appearance from the road. I think that's important when we're talking about the overall character of the district, maintaining kind of the historic building materials that were. And I should add that the applicant did supply some photos of fencing examples Obviously, there are a lot of fences in Montford, so those were easy to remember in my brain of when they were approved or if they were existing prior to my time with the city. The paver examples, I will say, the 62 Cumberland Circle pavers, that we have not issued a CA for. You could tell on Street View that was a pretty recent addition to that driveway, and they haven't gone through any approval process for that. The one at 246 Cumberland, that driveway I mentioned last time was like missing its entire driveway material, like we didn't know what it was. It had been kind of just completely destroyed over time, and so the commission, because they didn't have basically any driveway material except for dirt and some broken pieces of mixed material in there, the commission felt like it was okay to approve a change in material in that case. And then the rest of the examples of paver driveways were new construction projects. They were not historic driveways. So that is. It does, but we're talking about retaining and preserving historic driveways, so that's like the #1 standard. So concrete was a very common driveway material for existing historic driveways in the districts.
Any other questions for Alex?
Okay, thank you. Then Lonnie, I'm going to pull up here's your project folder, and I've got I'll just go ahead and open this folder if you want to pick through any of the images or anything, or you can use my presentation, or just let me know if you need my help.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. I don't remember you from last time.
I was not here.
I'm Lonnie. Nice
Hi,
to meet
nice
you.
to meet you.
Okay. I did send this supporting documents with photographs of driveways and fences, and I've lived in this particular location since 2011. And all of the pictures are of fences and driveways that have been installed since 2016, because I went through this process in 2016. So I kind of kept my eye on what was happening in the neighborhood in the event I needed to come back. So I don't know how many of those were approved by the HRC, but I do know that all the pavers and all the fences that I documented were new since then. The pavers on Montford Avenue was not new construction. Those are historic buildings. That's 111.
That project was new construction. It was built in like 2005.
Those two bungalows?
Uh-huh. Those aren't historic structures. It was like a little cottage development.
All right. Well, I will have to take your word for it. So essentially, I don't know if anybody here was serving in 2016. I suspect you weren't. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
We do 3-year terms, and we
Okay.
can go for one more, so the
Yeah.
answer to that would be no.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Is there, Alex kind of set out like a kind of a compromise on the pavers with the driveway. Is there any leniency with you on, I understand you were approved for something in 2016, it's definitely upsetting to come back and if you turned in the same application, I don't know, I wasn't here. But, are you willing to, negotiate, with what Alex is asking for that area?
Well, this is an enormous investment. And I won't be making this investment again in my lifetime. And I just feel like the material is the same, even if the configuration is different. The paver blocks are concrete, So we have a concrete driveway trying to replace it with a recommended, HRC recommended material. On page 50, it says we strongly encourage paver blocks for permeability. And so it's in the guidelines. And so I've kind of developed this vision, and as a designer, I know you know this because I'm a designer as well, that when you are juxtaposing two different materials or what appears to be two different materials in a design schema that don't feel congruent, it just kind of messes with the whole thing. I'm not trying to be resistant. I'm just trying to elevate my property in a way that feels cohesive, well-designed. It's an enormous investment. And I'm not trying to do anything outside of the HRC parameters. I'm trying to stay within the parameters. It's just, and
Let's just back up just for 1
Yeah.
second. The material that you're proposing is not a historic material in that district. And so what we're trying to say is when people drive through the district, it looks like a historic district. And when there's things that are more modern, like what you're proposing, we are not doing our job if we allow things like that to come in, because that sort of opens the floodgates more or less. And I hear what you're saying. It's a similar material, but it's not a historic looking material that matches more of the neighborhood. I believe that Alex said, we know one was new construction, the other one did not get a CA, correct?
Well, also, like, what the area where it does say that you can use these paving blocks is right under where it's talking about new driveways, which I think is,
oh, I quoted it directly
and-
from the thing, and it said for either crumbling or new driveways.
Deteriorating.
Deteriorated, and I suggest my driveway is quite deteriorated.
well, I think deteriorated in the historical sense is more saying where you can't even tell what the material was at all. I mean, we know that your driveway right now is concrete, and the deterioration is what she brought up from not 62,
246.
246, where they did not even have any sign of what the driveway could have possibly been. So, I mean, it is saying with new driveways indicating where a driveway was, and there is no material there for us to go off of. And then if we look down to where it says, like, we have to do what is historically there, which, you know, we've had this discussion on what that means. Like, yes, it could have been different in the 1920s, but historically right now we know that it's been concrete for 30 years, and that's what we have to go off of.
You have a question?
No, so, well, first of all, did you submit, I mean, has anything been changed in your submittal since the last time? Like the fence or?
I did do a little drawing on top of the site plan to sort of modify the fence layout. So, okay.
Robert, are you talking about since she was here last time or since 2016?
Since she was here last time.
And we really shouldn't be focusing too much on a 2016 application that I don't think is in your materials to reference, and it's fine that you're telling the history.
I did.
But if we don't have a copy to compare what was actually proposed and approved, and even then, it's a new body, so we can't go back and because the time lapsed when that was approved. So you can't go, this commission should not be looking at what happened or what may or may not have been approved in 2016, just to clarify.
Well, I don't think that's exactly right. I mean, it's true that it's not in evidence of what was approved, and that's totally right. But in general, in the broader sense of what has been approved before, it's totally appropriate for us to consider that. I mean, if another property has been, if the property across the street has been approved for this use in the past, there's an interest in the body having consistency. I mean, I think one of the frustrations.
No, because in a quasi-judicial procedure, each case is the case that's before you And the standards haven't changed, but we don't know why that commission at the time decided or made their argument why they believed that the same standards that the staff is now saying are not being met, maybe why they thought it at the time. But the point is, when you don't, you get a certificate of appropriateness, you don't use it, then that's why she's had to apply again. So
Well,
that's-
yeah, the rhetorical point, I don't think is important. But it is important, I think, for people in these neighborhoods to be able to predict what will be approved and what isn't. And then for individual people who come to the commission, they, our standard is we do have to apply these guidelines, which in some ways are objective. And if we apply the same guidelines and come out one way in one case and one way in another case, that's an indication that the determination is actually arbitrary, which of course would be a reason for someone to appeal our decision. So there is an inconsistency, and that's my whole point. I agree. What happened back then is not in evidence, and so we couldn't consider it. Although I would also say whether a particular house on the street did or did not come before us and get a CA is also really not in evidence. So I'll just speak in support of this. I don't think and make a few points. One, I just don't read the guidelines in that way. That is in the same way the staff does. There is this part that says pavers are encouraged for deteriorating sidewalks. I don't know how we would overlay that with a understanding that that means they have to be totally, unrecognizable. If in fact it is concrete from the 1907 or 1915, it's not a substance that's available today because concrete now has cement in it and it's a different product. It usually doesn't have exposed aggregate. So when we're talking about historic concrete from the time these houses were built and then what you can order today from the concrete truck, it's not the same product. But if you're talking about concrete in sort of a general sense, these pavers are made of concrete. And to this idea that the HRC does not approve changing materials for driveways and sidewalks when you know what's there or has been there for some time, that's just not an accurate presentation of what the policy has been. I've seen in this neighborhood over the last 15 years many sidewalks change from.
Well, again, coming back, like we have no photos, documentation of any of it. You're saying you've seen many of these changes happen. Well, okay, we can't just take your word for it.
Well, in 20.
Again,
you're
it's like
getting
way
into-
beyond.
That's what you're saying, but to say that the standards, each member doesn't have the right to apply their understanding of the standard. That if it differs at all from some instance where you think that they went one way or the other, again, we don't know how much evidence was before in these other situations where something was found to be not deteriorated to a point where we didn't know it was.
My point is actually just about the guidelines themselves. And the question is there a principle in the guidelines that says that you shouldn't change materials if you can see what the existing
Yes, the
material
very first standard.
Right.
Retain and preserve the location, configuration, and materials. And I feel like if you can't make an exception for driveways and walkways any more than you can make an exception for any other feature in the district. I understand that some people don't think that concrete is great. It's not aesthetically beautiful, whatever. It's still characteristic of Montford from a historic perspective. And so I just feel like you would have to be saying you're okay with any walkway or driveway being replaced in the district if you're you're saying, what I think you're saying, which I don't think is what the standards are written to guide you on. In
Well,
terms of-
first of all, that standard actually says configuration of materials of intact, character defining historic
But
walkways.
it's not totally not intact, I guess. There's part of it that's deteriorated, but it's not wholly deteriorated, I guess. It's just,
And then you've got this thing in the page before that talks about deteriorated materials. So we're gonna say, the guidelines encourage you to use water pervious materials if they're new or deteriorated, but they have to be completely obliterated before they reach that standard. And before that, we're gonna call them intact. And then we're gonna say that this concrete driveway is both intact and character defining.
Well, yes,
But the
because it's
sidewalk in
there.
front of the
Like,
house is not, the driveway is, and the
I
sidewalk.
think
it is
you're-
historically what it has been. It is there. Like, we can't pretend
You don't
it's
really
not
want to be
there.
arguing about, you stated your point. You think that they're not clear enough, and you can read it that way. Other commissioners may be looking at this. This is a standard we've used for a long time. And yes, retain and preserve usually does rely on evidence that you kind of know what was there, even if it's crummy. And you're to go to the extreme of, oh, concrete's not what it was in the 1920s. The other thing is, even if this is made of concrete, it's a different design character than a smooth concrete. So anyway,
True,
I don't
but
know what other council commissioners.
The guidelines right below that say. that
Okay,
for
well then
new-
what are you proposing?
I hear
What are you
everything that
proposing?
said, And I appreciate, I understand that you're supporting it. We want to finish the conversation.
I understand.
With the rest of the
Okay,
commissioners.
but responding to the point that council made just then, I just want to make the point that the next paragraph says new or replacement of driveways. Sorry, there's somewhere in here where it says that it can be tooled and tinted concrete for runoff materials. So the
So what-
guidelines.
what are you-
That says the site will be compatible with the site district in terms of dimension, configuration, materials, color, and texture.
Okay,
That is what it says, and that was my point of, okay, that has a different texture than a smooth driveway. If this were new, I'd sort of place it, yeah. Anyway, I think that
Does anyone else have comments about the driveway? Okay. Fencing, you said that you drew.
Yes.
That's your red line, right?
So basically, I took the site plan for the proposed changes and I modified it. I pulled the blue line, I pulled the line way back. I have a bunch of plantings that I put in when I was doing the project 8 years ago. And we can cut off the corner bed here and put the fence behind the corner bed, behind all my plantings, behind this other corner bed over here. I have a crepe myrtle, I have a big, huge spruce or something that's about to topple over, pull it way back off of, the egress. It won't really be very visually, so wherever you see is red, that's a pretty significant slope from Cumberland Circle down into the side yard. And so when Alex is proposing that I bring the fence line here, this is a slope. That's why there's stairs there. So to bring the fence line back to here, to this corner, it means that there's going to be some weird adjustment for the slope, and then there's going to be a gate coming across the stairs.
Because the stairs will be outside the fence.
Well, the stairs will be partially in and partially out. So I'm trying to accommodate the fact that I want the stairs not to have a gate in them. But there is this corner right here, and I was looking, and I'm happy to cut that corner off too and make this like a little diagonal, so it's not even, like if I make this a diagonal from the spruce that's right here to the corner, that could work, the top of the retaining wall. And that is this corner. It's not the porch. It's not the corner of the porch. It's the corner of the main building. And that is congruent with fences y'all have approved in the past. So, you know, so yeah, I'm trying to accommodate that. There's, you know, the thing is though, is, you know, I'm happy to pull it back. You know, it's way off the city egress. It's behind plantings I planted just for this specific purpose 8 years ago. And yeah, and this is, I've got like a decorative maple, Chinese maple here. I've got some boxwoods. And if I put the fence right along the top of the hill here and attach it to the house, I think that won't be very visually obtrusive because it's behind a bunch of plantings. And it won't be in the front of the house at all, in any way, shape, or form. So that was, yes, what was the question?
Oh, I was just going to ask you, if you do this scenario, can you go back beyond the front building plane of 5 foot? Because that's what the standards require. So I'm just wondering, you know, the way you've got it drawn is you've got the little well or like the little retaining wall. Is that really right up close to the front corner? Or is there space
Yeah,
back?
it is, because this part of the retaining wall comes up and is part of the front yard. And this little block here is several feet lower. So it's like a 2-tiered. So, yeah, if you're looking at it, it's like the front yard's here, you've got one of the retaining walls and it drops down to a lower
Is this fence
planting bed.
on top of this retaining wall, or is it on the same
Level.
level?
It would, to meet the house, it'll be on top of part of it and below, and like on the same level as the
Yeah.
other one.
I'm
It's not
wondering-
really on top of it, it's not gonna be built on top of the wall.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I guess like, it's not almost like the fence can just end at the retaining wall versus even coming back to meet the house?
Yeah, not really, because the top part of the retaining wall is flush with the ground.
Okay.
So this little bit right here that sticks out is flush with the ground, and then it drops down about 2.5 feet to more retaining wall and a lower bed. It's like a terraced
Yeah.
thing. So the fence would actually be at ground level, the ground level, the front of the building. So it would have to meet, because there's not a piece of the wall that sticks up for it to join to.
Yeah. I mean, I think this definitely looks much better. I think the first fence plan was like kind of meeting right in front of the porch, which I think was more of the concern.
Yeah, I don't
This
have a
one's
problem
over
moving
to
it
the
to
side.
that corner of the
Yeah.
building. That's fine. You know, whatever. Totally. So, okay, so any other questions?
That would be the standard.
I mean, as long as it can be set back, but beyond that front building corner. But it looks like I'm looking at an aerial that I have no way to show you guys. But it looks like it can.
May I ask you,
Yeah.
how important, if you consider the driveway to aspects, one is the courtyard between the two buildings, and one is the driveway from the street back to the courtyard? Is the driveway just as important to you as maybe the courtyard, or how would you feel about moving the old, driveway from the road to your courtyard? I'm just asking. I mean,
I appreciate your
because,
question.
I know how Robert said, old concrete, this one, if you paved that new driveway, it would be like this one, and it would stand out the way.
Yeah.
The current driveway just looks like part of the.
I contemplated keeping the top part, but it is so steep.
No,
And keeping the east leg that has the aggregate that you can see. There's, first of all, the north, this part of the driveway is so deteriorated that when you drive over it, the chunks of concrete rock and bang on the undercarriage of the cars that are using the driveway. It is absolutely and completely demolished. There's little chunks, there's big chunks, there's like water collects under them, stuff comes sluicing up anytime you even walk on it. You don't even have to drive on it. Those things are rocking. It is such a catastrophe back there. It is a liability. I'm lucky I haven't been sued yet, honestly. So that part of the driveway is nice and flat. However, it gets pretty murky and wet. This part of the driveway has some slope, but this part of the driveway is very, very sloped. This is the part of the driveway that's most intact. You can see the aggregate in the concrete, and you know, I was considering keeping it, but it won't help the water issue. I have so much water coming off of my giant roof and I have downspouts here, I have downspouts here, I have downspouts here, and it all just comes shooting down my driveway. And, you know, I refinished the interior of my carriage house, and it just comes pouring right into my carriage house. And I'm not sure, you know, because it's untested, I'm not sure if having permeable pavers will be enough to remediate the amount of water that's coming down off of my roof and the driveway. It's not just the driveway, it's coming off the roof and the driveway. So, you know, it's untested, but if we're keeping original or, well, old antiqued concrete here, we have pavers here, we have new concrete here, from a design standpoint, that looks just downright janky. I'm sorry, but I don't see how that gives it any sort of historic integrity. You know, it just looks like I didn't have enough money to do it right. I've got this material here and that material there.
Well, so what are you willing to compromise on? And I'm not asking you to. I'm saying, like, are you? And if not, like,
I feel
we'll
like
discuss more.
my application was a fairly good look at what the standards were, and I did everything in my power to meet them.
Okay.
And the materials are the same. Concrete is concrete. Whether, you know, as, you know, Robert said, today's concrete is not the same as concrete from 30 years ago. Concrete pavers are concrete, but they're not exactly the same kind of concrete.
I just want to know if you're willing to
I've
negotiate.
compromised. I feel like I've compromised. I feel like I've done everything in my power to follow
Okay, that's fine. That's all the answer.
the guidelines. So I'm happy for you guys to, you know, use your best judgment. I've come here with, you know, an authentic desire to meet guidelines. I think I've done a really good job, and I've done my research, and I even called up the former owners and I said, do you have any pictures? Do you know what was here before this driveway? You know?
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't have any old pictures. I know we repaved that driveway, you know, 20 years ago or whatever it was, but you know, it's been patched and it's been changed, it's been cut, it's just been modified over and over and over again. It's really hard for me to grapple with that I need to try and adhere to this disaster that I have back there. And
It's not that we want you to adhere to a disaster, we're just asking you to follow the guidelines as we're interpreting them. It's not, this isn't really meant to be adversarial. We want to support you in doing what you want, but we have to stick to the guidelines. That's our job.
yeah. Well, I had paper, and I know you weren't on, but I find it really hard to believe that you can't find my approval from 2016 that says that paver blocks were approved.
Well, even if we could, that's not, we have to deal with each certificate of appropriateness one at a time.
But they're the same guidelines. Even if the
I know, but
players were different.
I understand what
The
you're saying.
property's the same, the guidelines the same, the applicant's the same.
But the board isn't the same, so that is a difference. I'm not, I don't want to argue with you, I'm just trying to tell you that it's, the difference is that we're a different board, and so we're interpreting things the way that we're interpreting things, where other people, I totally get, in 2016 you got an approval, I'm not arguing that you did or didn't, I think you did, but that we don't have that, it's not part of this certificate of appropriateness. All we can go on is what you've provided us, and that's what we're grappling with.
Okay, well, that's fair. I guess I don't really have, if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Should we take kind of a straw?
Thank you.
vote, or we did that last week for somebody to kind of give a little bit
No,
of.
yes, we've done that before. I just want to make sure that everybody is sitting this. Anybody want to add anything or ask any more questions? Okay, you've already sat down. So we'll, no, you're good, you're good, you're good. I just was going to tell you you can sit down and you already done. Okay, so, board, let's hear some.
I'm in support of it. I would direct everybody to this picture. It's Exhibit F, not the driveway. To me, this is not intact or character defining. And it's no more intact and character defining than the driveway, which I think, or I'm sorry, than the front walk, which I don't think anybody has objection to changing from the current material to stone. So I think it's within the guidelines to approve this.
Yeah, I have a kind of somewhat of a question. So, in trying to be clear,
Can you come back up?
what were you in agreement as far as compromise, and what were you not in agreement with as far as compromise?
I was happy to reconfigure the fence, and I really just, I want my paver driveway. I want my paver block driveway. There's enough information in the guidelines to suggest that it is within the realm of approval. It is the same material, even if it's not the same look. It is not the original driveway. We can't assume that the current concrete driveway was the original driveway. So I'm not necessarily changing what's part of the original historic aspect of the driveway. It's suggested that and encouraged on page 50 that you use paver blocks. If paver blocks are not consistent with the neighborhood, then why would that even be in there as an option? So I designed my entire plan around that. So I would like approval for it, you know? I mean,
So you feel you compromised with the fence, and then the driveway is semi.
I designed that whole application to be a compromise. I did. I mean, there were other things I would have liked to have done, but I knew that it wasn't going to be within, when somebody actually goes through and reads a 56-page document and files an application to be cohesive with the standards, you're already, in that aspect, you're already modifying what you want to do to adhere to the guidelines. So I feel like I've done that. I did that process before I even applied.
Okay.
So, I feel like I'm within the guidelines. It's really up to interpretation now and what each individual's priorities are. And I don't have any control over that. I know what my priorities are. And I don't want to spend $70,000 on a driveway that I hate. That doesn't work for me. That is either crumbling away because it's being washed down the hill, or it's creating a watershed problem, or whatever,
How about gravel?
Well, gravel is part of that crumbling away thing because the east leg is in a pretty significant slope. So it won't stay.
Well, that would also still be a tamed material, just like the standards and that.
Yeah, it's kind of a sixth of one and a half dozen of another. So it's sort of like I really honest to God thought that this wasn't going to be a problem.
Right. I understand
Because
that.
it is the same material. It doesn't look aesthetically the same, but it's the same material, and that's what it says. It says the same material.
But it's not the same.
It's not, it isn't the same material.
But I can't even access the same material as Robert said. I can't access the same
That's
material.
Robert's opinion, but pavers and concrete are not the same material. They may be made of a similar material, but they're not the same thing. They don't look.
They say they're concrete.
I'm not debating the material, I'm debating the look. It's the look.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. You and I are in agreement. It's the same material, it's a different design aesthetic. Right. So the material is the material. So, okay. Thank you.
Yes, but the historic district is a visual thing as well as a material. There's a visual component to all of these buildings that we're trying to maintain so it looks like it did. And do you see what I'm saying? Like
Oh, yeah, I understand what you're
okay.
saying.
I mean, I just think that we have a little bit of I appreciate it. You've articulated yourself.
Yeah, I just, I was going by the words on the,
No, I understand.
in the
That's what you
guide,
did.
not-
No, I got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
okay.
We can let's just take a straw poll from where we are.
I would agree.
I think I'd like to say one more thing about the pavers versus concrete thing. With the new driveways, the reason that concrete pavers are allowed at all is because when there's new construction in Montford, they are supposed to have a historic S to them, but they are also supposed to be differing. Like the point of the new construction is that you are able to tell a difference between a new building and a historic building. And that's the point of why you're allowed to use different materials on a new driveway, especially new construction.
So when you asked him for, I thought you were going to ask.
I was just saying that because we seem to think that pavers are the same.
Oh, yeah.
And
That they were.
Yeah.
Has there been public comment on
We
this?
haven't.
Not yet.
Okay.
We're just having a conversation,
Okay.
us, but I will ask for public comment momentarily. So let's
And
do
just so
that.
everybody, we don't usually do straw polls, but this is important so the applicant knows, because if it goes in the direction that what she wants, which is what is presented, which are pavers, if the majority of the commission doesn't believe that that meets the standard, it will be denied. Sometimes when we get this sticky, and then you bring it back, but if it's substantially different application.
Well, and let's just see how the conversation goes. The other alternative is if the commission is divided on paving, but is okay on everything else in the application separate.
We sometimes split it out in the application. I was just letting people know that this is important to give your input, because if you asked, would she go in any other direction? She's saying, I really want what I'm presenting, and I want you to, if that is the case, and they go against it, we could change that. The application fails, or we might ask her. So, to split this out and continue.
So, okay. Okay, this commission work done, so okay. I'll open it up for public comment. I haven't sworn you in yet, though, right? I know, not this month, but still, you get to raise your hand. Hi. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for a certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Benjamin Mitchell. Good evening. Good to see you all again. And I myself served 3 long years on this committee that ended, I think, in 22, maybe it was 21. Without much analysis of this particular application, I just thought that it might bear a little bit of light on the fact that I've never, in the many years that I've attended these meetings, both as a commissioner beforehand and after the fact, heard of a certificate of appropriateness that lapsed. That was a novel occurrence that I heard this evening. And, we were often in a position of after the fact approvals and things of that nature that were not at all things that we enjoyed having to deal with. And, to the extent an application is made before you where all that is a quasi-judicial body, you're not bound by stare decisis in the way that the court might be, because these groups do change and evolve over time as do understanding of modernly available materials and whatnot. I live by these rules every day with respect to Biltmore Village, and to the extent that an applicant, whether it's this one or another, were to put that information before you without any substantiation of past events, you're blind. And I would encourage you all to consider this application and any other before you as the vote that you're to have, and the mechanism that is available to an applicant if their application is denied is the Board of Adjustments. And some of these considerations are outside of your discretion. Ultimately, you have to play the guidelines. And if the Board of Adjustments sees that there's some other action that should be taken, that's the appropriate venue to have some of these discussions about monetary impacts and things of that nature. And that's all I wanted to say on this matter.
And just a slight correction, since you were on the commission, Mr. Mitchell, an appeal goes straight to the court now,
Yeah,
not
sure.
to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. Anyone else like public comment? Okay, I'll close the floor for public comment. Any further discussion? I think we should probably take the floor. So I don't remember
What do you think?
Or, I mean, we can break this up to driveway, fence, we can divide it up that way too.
It's our choice.
Well, if she wants to break it, it looks like one is going to fail, the applicant has to be the two different things to be considered, and they can take two different roles of the fence and then the driveway. It doesn't sound like it.
I think the applicant's done, a lot of due diligence. Clearly, I would like a unified compromise. I'm gonna vote with that.
You're going to vote for a compromise? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you believe
Per
that
comp- yeah.
the guidelines, there are guidelines to support.
Yeah, I kind of was listening where she said, her application was, the premise was to try to follow her interpretation of the guidelines. And, I'm going to kind of leave it at that. I think, I would like for you to be happy and understand that you're, I own a historic property, so, I hear people say, they want to bring it back to the original, etc. But there are, bills or things like that. But in this case, I'm going to just accept your comment.
I mean, I feel like I said what
Can you guys speak in the microphone?
I feel like I said what I felt already. Do I need to elaborate?
You would like to see compromise?
Yes.
It's
Either
yeah,
we-
it's
okay,
sort of
okay,
a
driveway
well,
question, are you s-
Yeah, I will say no if it goes,
Yes or no?
yeah, if the current application I'm saying no to, I'm willing to compromise if she's willing to compromise. But the current application as it is, I'm a no on the driveway.
Okay.
Overall, I'd be a no vote. I'm fine with the fencing and prefer that we do like the catty corner at the main entry of the house and like pushing it like a foot from that front corner. Fence is fine. No problems with the fence. It's how I interpret the guidelines, and I was struggling with this like in February. I would, however, be open to the compromise of doing pavers in the parking pad and concrete like on the drive. I would be open to that.
I'm fine with the fence as amended. I also would like to see a compromise on the fence together.
So you said fence, I think you meant driveway.
Yes, I did in the driveway, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Good with the fence, 1,000%. I am prioritizing the material of the current driveway, so I would not be in agreement with the driveway.
It's really hard to hear.
I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
I'm in agreement with the fence. I'm not in agreement with changing the driveway. I'm prioritizing the materials of the driveway.
Great, speak right into
So I think that the application meets all the standards. I think the fence is fine. The changes that you made make it more usable and consistent. I think all your other things are, your pavers for the walkways are good. I think the driveway, I'm fine with the pavers. I think they'll look better than a white concrete look. Since your application referenced the guidelines or the standards, then I'm with you.
And I'm the same way, and specifically, I don't think under the guidelines, this driveway is either intact or character defining, so I don't think we have the authority to deny someone an application to use a material that is otherwise approved in the guidelines. I don't think there's a rational basis for differentiating between the status of the driveway and the front walkway. So, to me, I think under the guidelines, we have to approve this.
Okay. Okay, so where we are right now is it's 5 to 2.
4 to 3.
4 to 3. Could not accept the driveway. That they're not accepting the driveway and 3 that are accepting the driveway. So we can either go forward with the whole thing, or we can divide it up and give you a full vote on the fence, which has approval and not in the driveway. Or you can, what would be your suggestion to?
Back up to the mics. Yeah, so you could do what Chair Oliva said, which is split the items up into one bucket. That's all the things that everybody's okay with approving. That's the other rest of the work. And then the driveway. Alternatively, if you want to go with the suggestion of the partially paver driveway in the back, it sounded like you have support for that compromise of doing it in concrete on the sections of Hilton Street, and then the parking area behind the main house being paver. So you can also amend your application to do that, and then just leave it all together if you want to. It's up to you. But if the application for the driveway is denied, then you have to wait a whole year to bring back a second application. And I imagine if your driveway is so deteriorated that your chunks of concrete are moving around, you probably want to go. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying if you want to repair the driveway now, it seems like they would have an option for you. But does that make sense?
She'd have to wait a year. Is that because she's come again since February?
If
You
it's
can't come again and again.
If it's denied.
If it's denied,
you have to.
Unless-
Pushing it back.
Yeah, unless it's substantially different in some way.
Or unless you appeal and are successful.
Well, let's split up the stuff you'll say yes to and get that going, because the driveway's the last part of the project anyways, because I would destroy it trying to get the stairs repaired. So
You can
that's
also
an,
withdraw that from the application.
well, I'm going to need to demo the driveway at the same time. Is the demoing the driveway a problem?
Yes. Different driveway without having a permit for the replacement driveway.
You really got people strong-armed in this whole process, don't
It's not about, I'm sorry, it's their.
you? Like I can't
standards
apply
are-
again for a whole year?
If it's
That's in
denied.
the code.
If it's
not
denied.
something we're making
Yeah,
up on
I'm
the
not-
fly, that's what's in the code.
So, but if you
Unless it's
pull
substantially
it,
different application.
but you could pull it, and then you don't have any no, and you can reapply, think about it. I mean, that
You
might
continue
be.
that portion.
You can continue that portion and come back in a couple months.
I don't understand how that, could you explain that to me a little bit more?
Well, maybe you can
She's
help
saying
me
pull
go.
it out of the application.
Yeah, so do we just
all
pretend
together,
like
and
the
then you can
driveway's not in the
reapply
application?
with
Oh.
just the driveway.
That way, there's no denial and there's no year.
I don't
There's
even
no-
really know what I would be agreeing to with this compromise, because that wasn't clear.
Right, with that, you wouldn't have to make any agreement with the driveway, you just pull it out of the application and approve the fence.
So your options, so we can all be on the same page. We can, if we vote right now, it seems like the whole application would be denied because of just the driveway portion that everyone has a problem, or, some of us have a problem with. If you pull them apart so that they're separate applications now, then we can approve all the other items that all of us are in agreement on, and you can come back to another meeting to try and approve the driveway again. Or you can just pull out the driveway completely, come back in 6 months or something when you're ready, and just have an application for the driveway again. Or we can compromise and, compromise with the people that are not happy with the current design, and it will likely be approved today. Yes, that it's not meeting the guidelines, and then we can move forward today.
Right,
Yeah.
it's just maybe if we were talking, what the compromise we were talking about was just the parking area behind the main house, between the main house and accessory structure, that would be pavers, and then the actual driveways themselves that go up to the street would be repaired with concrete. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I can continue the driveway conversation and get approved for the rest. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, but I'm not sure I follow that suggestion, because it's like, unless you come back with something different, like, you got,
I think she's hoping this is different, like people saying up here.
I don't know.
I just need some time to think about the compromise,
that's
this
why
whole
I was-
on being
that's fine.
strong-armed and,
Yeah.
and
That's
kind of
fine.
like having to be pressured
That's why I
into
was saying-
something, or else I can't do. Why do I not get an opportunity to speak? If I need to compromise, I need a minute to think about it.
That's fine.
That's why I was suggesting continuing that part, so that you
Can we
think about it
continue?
and come back.
Can we please continue the driveway and vote on the rest of the items,
So
please?
you're amending your application to split them in two. One is for the fence and the other matters, and the other is for the driveway.
Because the permits are
which
what, like $200 or
Which you're,
something?
right, because you don't want to.
Whatever.
So then you're going to continue the driveway until you need it until next month.
Yeah.
And you can amend it then too. There's no, whatever time you need to think about this, that's fine.
You could also, in that time, look at the different options for different kinds of concrete. There's exposed aggregate, different kinds of aggregate, different colors, and find something you might at that time find something.
So instead of just putting the application, continuing, is that what it is? The driveway.
Yeah.
We'll say till next month, but if we need more time.
I'll let you know.
Okay, so board will start with approving the request to continue.
Can I have a motion to continue the driveway to April, unless you decide differently? And then we'll separate so we can vote on the fence today. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
But now you're going to vote
On the fence.
Right, and I amended the motion, so it should be.
Someone want to read the motion?
She's on the table.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application, 2 pages, Exhibit B, project description, 2 pages, Exhibit C, existing site plan, Exhibit D, proposed site plan, Exhibit E, fencing image received February 8th, 2025, Exhibit F, photographs, 15 pages, Exhibit G, images of proposed materials, 7 pages,
Exhibit H, revised paver specification, 6 pages, received February 10th, 2025. Exhibit I, additional fence and paver example images, 18 pages, received February 19th, 2025. And Exhibit J, and the Commission's actual inspection and review of subject property by all members. I move that this Commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for site improvements, including replacement of 2 existing That's a walkway?
This is the walkway
Oh,
part.
I'm sorry, I started reading the driveway.
1, that the application is for site improvements, including replacement of 2 existing non-original brick tile walkways in front yard with new flagstone walkways, repair and rebuilding of existing stone retaining wall and steps adjacent to west elevation, construction of new stone steps adjacent to driveway, installation of new 4-foot tall wrought iron fencing inside and front yards, and construction of a new flagstone walkway adjacent to west elevation of accessory structure. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the guidelines for fences and walls found on pages 36 through 37 and walkways, driveways, and off-street parking on pages 50 through 51 of the Montford Historic District Design Review Standards, adopted April 14th, 2010, and amended December 11th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. 3, this application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, existing front yard walkway material is not original to the site. New and replacement walkways will be flagstone and compatible with the site and district in terms of dimension, configuration, materials, color, and texture. And B, fencing will be wrought iron, not taller than 4 feet, and will be sited in a location that is compatible with the traditional historic relationship of fences and walls to historic properties in the district. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, revised site plan illustrating fencing set back at least 1 foot behind the front building facade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Pretty. Our next item is 19 St. Dunstan Circle. We don't get to visit St. Dunstan's Historic District too often. So this application is one of the, just a couple that we've had as a result of Helene, not applications period, but major work applications. Thankfully, most we've been reviewing via minor work. This application, unfortunately, this little accessory structure was smashed by a tree, including the vintage car that was parked inside. So it was a historic structure. So I've not seen a application like this in my time with the commission where a structure was destroyed in real time. So just to orient you, St. Dunstan Circle is kind of it's like the heart of St. Dunstan's neighborhood. The site plan on the right shows you the location. That's the parcel map that shows the location of the previously existing structure. This is just on the left, the primary structure, front facade, and then there's an older photo of the accessory structure on the site. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this application because it's pretty straightforward. They just want to rebuild the structure. There are a couple of differences, though, that I want to note to you all. The plans, I think, it's a little unclear to me, but I think are showing an unfinished foundation, which the commission, in terms of like new or replacement accessory structures, need to be consistent with historic structures found in the district. And so having a finished foundation would be consistent with historic structures, and what that could just be stucco or whatever is simplest to cover the CMU. And then the other difference to note to you is that the siding on the historic structure was wood siding, and they're proposing fiber cement siding. And no, that's what was included in the application. Sure, it's fiber cement. It's fiber cement though. Sorry, just you can talk to the commission in a second. Just let me. So it's LP Smart Siding, which is technically a composite. Like it is the same, basically the same as fiber cement siding. So it's meant to look like wood, obviously. Many times this commission has seen LP Smart Siding, Hardy Siding, etc. So I just wanted to note that to you. I'm not necessarily taking an issue with it because the standards don't say. I mean, the standards say if you're reconstructing an accessory structure that's completely missing, to reconstruct it based on documentary evidence, which we have in the photo that shows that there's wood siding. But then it says it doesn't indicate that you have to build to match what was there or reconstruct. And so you can take it either way. It's basically a new structure, which the commission has allowed fiber cement or hardy board siding on new construction. It's my understanding that the entry doors will be wood and built for the structure. There's a single window on the back, and we don't have the manufacturer specifications for that, so we do need that, as well as if you go with the siding as is, we need the reveal dimension, which is just the exposure dimension, so that we can add that to the approval language. Other than that, not noting any concerns.
Any questions for Alex? Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Alex, your turn.
Sorry, you can come on up. I'm just trying to get to and I didn't mean to cut y'all off. I just have to get through this so you can come up to the mic and talk directly to the commission. So you're welcome to use my slide deck if you want to, or alternatively, we've got all your documents are here. We just have to rename them.
Sure.
Just let me know if you need me help.
Okay. My name's Greg Grooms. I'm the owner of Blue Pinnacle Homes. I have partnered with the Williams to construct this structure. They asked me to come put this presentation together and present to you today. So, they originally approached me and basically said their goal was to put back a structure that was as close and real to the original structure that was there originally. She mentioned a few of the modifications that we've made. One more additional was really a substantial to code foundation of concrete. I think previously it was a wood 2x10 structure, which he had his car parked in there, which scared me a little bit. But this was more about putting back a solid structure to code that essentially was the same size as the structure that was there previously, and matched all the necessary resemblance of the previous structure.
What is the siding?
So LP Smart Side is it's a wood-based composite with admixtures. If you take a piece of LP Smart Side and you turn it over, it has a resemblance of oriented strand board or an OSB make style with an application on the outside of the OSB itself that has particular water preventative measures that is induced into the siding itself. So that's the intended siding for this was to use something that is a wood product and then would go back, essentially looking the same as a wood plank on the outside, and that would be the intent.
Is the reveal the same, or do you know?
Essentially, I mean, it's you buy it in a plank form. So if I bought a 1x8, wood and treated it on the outside, I would be using essentially a 1x8 smart side. So you would apply it essentially the same way. You would have about a 2-inch reveal on a lap, but it would be essentially installed the same way.
It's 3/4 stick.
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. You said, but what would the exposure siding be? Because typically that, like, I think the max that the commission has allowed, for smart siding is 6 1/4, so we just need to know that number. If you don't know it today, it's okay, you can submit that later. We just,
The value of it is you can lap more if necessary. So you see the max is 6 1/4.
that's what the commission
Yeah,
has
so-
said is in the past, because typically like a historic wood lap, this looks like Dutch lap siding, which has wider exposure. So if you're just doing like standard lap though, I think because typically wood is like 5, it's pretty narrow, which
Yeah.
most people don't want to go that narrow. But 7 inches is pretty wide. for
Yeah,
standard lap siding.
I would do at least a 2-inch lap just for just even water prevention would be, so I think we'd hit
Be
that
right at
6.
6,
Yeah.
okay.
Sure, please.
Oh, no, you're okay.
Come
You're
on
okay. I
up, you just need to speak into the mic and tell us your name, please.
Okay, I'm Becky Williams. I'm Pete's wife and live at the house. We put smart siding on the rental property we have next door at 13 St. Dunstan's, which was approved by this commission. And I believe at the time you said, what did you, 6
1/4.
I think 6 inches is the reveal that we used for the house next door. In fact, we have some of that siding left over, so we'll be feathering it into the new siding that will go on it. So it would have a 6-inch reveal.
Okay, thank you for that. That's helpful to know. That was just one small detail.
Any questions? Any other questions? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Open the floor for public comment. Close the floor for public comment. Are you ready for a motion?
I did want to ask you about the foundation material.
Okay.
Sorry, forgot about that. Sorry.
The foundation material will be of CMU, concrete masonry unit, and it will be built up, tied into the concrete slab, and it will be engineer stamped and approved. We stuck with the exposed CMU based on what the owners had said was previously there, which was exposed CMU for the foundation. And so that was just to go back to mimic the original look. That's what we went for on this one.
Okay. You ready for motion? Yes?
All right. Madam Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application 2 pages, Exhibit B, new construction worksheet, 4 pages, Exhibit C, site plans, 2 pages, Exhibit D, roof plan, section drawings and elevations, 8 pages, Exhibit E, material specifications, 53 pages, Exhibit F, accessory structure photo, Exhibit G, Google Street View image, Exhibit H, 1951 Sanborn fire insurance map, and the Commission's actual inspection and review of subject property by all members. I move that this Commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for reconstruction of 1-story, 472 square foot accessory structure and rear yard that was destroyed by Hurricane Helene. Structure will have CMU foundation, LP SmartSide smooth fiber cement siding with 6-inch reveal and timberline UHDZ asphalt shingle roofing and weathered wood color. Single window on rear elevation will be TBD aluminum clad. Doors on front elevation will be custom-built wood carriage doors. New trench drain will be installed with an existing driveway adjacent to front elevation of reconstructed accessory structure. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before any work may commence. 2, that the guidelines for carriage houses, garages, and accessory structures found on pages 28 and 29 of the St. Dunstan's Historic District Design Review Standards adopted September 12, 2012 were used to evaluate this request. 3, this application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, previously existing structure was destroyed by Hurricane Helene and is being replaced with an accessory structure with a new design compatible with the historic character of the main building and historic accessory structures in the district. B, the proportion of new garage is compatible with the proportion of the main house. C, new garage has a traditional roof form, materials, and details compatible with the main building. And D, new garage will be located in the rear yard in the same location as previous garage and in a traditional relationship to the main building. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the St. Dunstan's Historic District.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, window specifications will be submitted for staff review and approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, our last public hearing item is 182 Flint Street. This application involves a couple of different things. Primary thing to do with the existing house is porch enclosure on the rear elevation, some window and door modifications, and then there's some site work to talk you all through. So just to orient you, the top left is the parcel map for the project site. Bottom left is front elevation. And on the right-hand side are existing and proposed site plans. There's a third site plan in here that has all the landscape changes to landscape features. This is really the house itself, showing the changes to the footprint of the house itself. So you'll note that if you in the pictures, there's an existing. On the bottom left, you can see that little existing non-original shed that's there, in addition to the little porch that's on the back. So what they're proposing to do is to get rid of the little shed, and then they want to expand the interior space to enclose that little corner porch entryway, and so that will be enclosed. So the existing and proposed drawings are shown on this slide. So there will be one window, that one that's the little window on the very back of the house will be removed, but will then also be reused on the new enclosed portion. There will be, there's a door inside of the porch that's like a 5-panel door that's existing with a screen door on top of it that's being removed. And obviously that wall will come out. And so that will be, there'll be a new full light glass and wood door there. And then there's also proposed a little deck coming like in that little corner of the building. It will be inset from the rear building corner, and then there'll be a set of glass French doors opening out onto the new deck, where that existing larger double hung window is on the right-hand side on the first floor. They're also proposing to do a little bit of work on the side elevation. One being to the upper story window that's shown in red to be removed. That will be replaced with a small transom window that you see in the proposed elevation on the bottom right. And then they also are proposing to add a new entryway down on the first floor. And so there will be a new doorway there and a little wood landing with a handrail, that will match the front porch. with the exception of the height, which of course has to be a little bit taller to meet current building code. I inquired about the shutters. I looked like from this application or the proposed plans that the shutters were going to be, there were going to be new shutters involved in this, but the applicant confirmed that they're taking the shutters off because they're vinyl and not original to the house. Okay, lastly, the site plan. There's a few things here that we're going to talk about, the same topic we talked about earlier. Replacement of walkway material. So they are proposing to replace the front walkway with an alternative stone material that's shown in the, I can't remember if I made a slide for the materials. I think I did. So the existing front walkway is concrete. They're proposing to replace it with stone on the bottom left. The walls at present, if you visited the property, are painted CMU that are in the front. So they're also proposing to reconfigure those a bit. If you note on the site plan, the driveway, like I can understand kind of they're wanting to reconfigure the end of the wall right there by the driveway. It seems pretty tight if you're turning in there to make that, kind of make this very sharp 90-degree angle where the current wall is. If you see here, it's pretty tight there. So they want to flare the wall out a little bit. And then I think there'll be two sections like that end will be terraced. And I'll let Josh, the property owner, clarify on that end. But they're just reconfiguring that section of the wall, and then they want to face it with stone. So that's what you see here in this picture, or rebuild it out of stone. So change in material for the wall. Concrete block is not necessarily, if we want to get in the weeds on different forms of concrete, I don't think concrete block, unfinished concrete block is particularly character defining material for the district. There's obviously plenty of just plain poured concrete in the district, but unfinished CMU walls are not something that is very common to the district. So I'm not necessarily taking issue with that. I did obviously note my concern about the walkway material being changed. I don't think that's appropriate. And to go back to something that Commissioner May said earlier, I think I said this last meeting, I've been doing this job I've been probably 120 something meetings now. And I have not seen, granted 10 years is not forever, but I have not seen the commission approve a change in material for an intact walkway or driveway. So that's just speaking for the last 10 years. But, so aside from that, the application involves doing also some site improvements in the rear yard that are seem totally fine to me. They're just proposing to create a new walkway coming from the parking area across the backyard and creating a new seating area in the corner as you see that on the bottom left of the site plan. And then there'll also be a little trash enclosure will be painted wood that will be up against the rear elevation right next to the walkway. So, and they're doing some landscaping improvements other than that. And there will be a new wall there that I corresponded with the applicant a couple of times this morning on some of the outstanding items. So let me, that we did talk about the fencing in the side yard. Sorry, I skipped that part. There is a fence, hard to see on this site plan, but it will come into the side yard here and then extend back. This is the fencing type proposed, which is found in Montford. The only note that I made for him was that same thing as the last fence, and needs to be set back beyond the front building corner by at least a foot. So they are working on a revised site plan for that. There were revised window and door manufacturer specifications submitted today for all wood windows, which are required for historic buildings. And I had asked for information on the existing door on the rear elevation. So there's a photo that was added to your project materials for that. The flooring material is going to be, for the deck will be KDOT, which I think that was approved that was approved for the first time by the commission for an addition and maybe like 2 or 3 months ago on an application. So we've seen that material seems okay, especially for a rear deck, and then leave the side entry landing will be Ipe. And we have the trash enclosure rendering and dimensions. The fence height we confirmed will be no more than 6 feet. And I inquired about the tree that's proposed for removal as part of the site work, which is back on the rear building corner where that little seating area will go. And I believe it's already been. I think it's already a stump. It's a big stump. So no worries on that. We don't need any additional information for that since it's already been basically cut down, so.
Any questions for Alex?
Is there a fence height restriction that can't be more than 6 feet, right?
Yeah, in the side and rear yards, it's 6 feet, and then the front yard is 4 feet.
Any other questions?
I mean,
I was asking, like, if you were in
concerns about the window on,
maybe in the bathroom
it's a little bit odd to me, because it doesn't really have doesn't speak the language of the rest of the windows in the house exactly, but it's so small. I wish that the existing window could say, one of the things we talked about was it being a fixed window and just using the upper sash, because this house does have like the decorative upper sashes, and so we talked about that, but this was what they wanted to propose, so.
And it would be, unless I missed something, the spec says wood or aluminum?
They submitted aluminum clad, and the standards say that new windows and doors in existing historic structures should be wood, so the commission has always required wood.
So what would go in there is a wood window, but it's just one single pane fixed glass.
Yeah,
And that's because there's a bathroom on the other side of it.
exactly.
And there's a water.
Exactly. That's typically what we see the most is for window modifications, especially as kitchens and bathrooms. It's the interior programming changing that we see that request. The other thing that kind of makes me on the fence about it is that it's far enough back. It's not like it's, super close to the front elevation. It is highly visible, but I'll let you all maybe talk to the applicant to see if they're interested in maybe keeping we do require that windows that are being removed to be retained and preserved on site, so at the very least, someone could restore it in the future if they don't want to repurpose it for this particular project, but.
You said they're not going to replace the shutters, they're not going to put them back up?
No, I think that's,
I mean, I'm just looking at the drawing that says shutters to match.
sorry, I'll
You
let,
have to come up.
yeah,
I can wait.
sorry.
The back, oh, sorry. The back door, there were different drawings, I think I was looking at the old one. Is it, the new back door that's visible from the back, is that French door or a sliding door, or is it?
I think it's a French door, but I'll pull up the specs that you sent me today.
And Jeff, has the commission had a position on the French doors?
The commission hasn't approved sliding doors on historic structures, but French doors, yes, especially on the rear. I'll grab the specs that seem to be missing in here. They submitted some Geldwin door and window specifications that were wood, so. All right, thank you. Yeah. All your documents are here except for the window thing you sent me today, and I'll find that. It's in my email.
Okay.
And then you're welcome to use my presentation, of course, if you want, but just let me know if you need to have time or anything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for having me.
Fine.
I've got you and my wife watching. I'm very nervous. But what I thought I'd do is walk through kind of what we just discussed, but maybe make a couple clarifications. And it's actually better to make it full screen. And then, yeah. So, sorry. Okay. So I'll call things out as I see them because there's not, some of it's contiguous, but some of it's not. The front wall here, which is CMU, the left half of this is actually, if you were to walk past it, it's leaning forward, and it's just not attractive to us, so we thought it would be more in line with the character of the neighborhood, but also all of the surrounding, not all of them, but most of the houses on that side of the street all have stairwells. So it would be kind of more in line with that. It would be of a similar height on the left, kind of running across and then broken into tiers on the right so that we could see people as we come out of the driveway. We have Magnolia Park down the street. We have kids walking. And it's a safety thing for us to be able to get in and out without hitting anybody. Not hitting the car. It's very narrow there. So a lot of the changes are in the back here, new livable space inside that back porch, back deck, as we talked about. That window you see there will just be moved over 5 feet to the right to be over the new kitchen sink, right? So it should have the same kind of character. So yeah, here you can see the bathroom window. That'll be a small transom so that it can open to vent. And that's the key thing we wanted and why we decided not to go with just fixing the upper sash in place. Because the shower will be right there. So having a full-size window, wood window in a shower is kind of a no-go. But if we make it a small transom window.
When you say transom, you mean awning?
Awning, sorry, awning. Yeah, awning's probably more appropriate.
Hinged on the top.
It'll be hinged on top, so it opens up, pops out. It'll have obscured glass too. So this also shows you the small door in the back with a small walk-up. Alex mentioned Ipe decking, but we're just gonna strike that from the application. We'll do KDAT both on that and on the back deck. So KDAT, if you're not familiar with this, is a kiln-dried after treatment. It's treated pine, which is dried afterwards, so it doesn't have the same kind of warping that you get from a wet treated pine decking, which as it dries outside will tend to pull up the nails more. It looks identical to any kind of pine. It is pine. It's a higher end pine. The walkway here, it's our preference to go for a dimensional stone or a flagstone walk up here. When we remove the front stone wall, we'll have just a concrete stairs there. The stairs, which you can't see in this picture, is deteriorating. It is chipping away. And so, at some point we're gonna have to do something with it. So for us, it makes sense to, if we're gonna do a stone wall, to do that stone stairway, and then at the top, it's either gonna transition into this existing concrete, or we're gonna continue that to flow up. In our opinion, this concrete was probably poured at the same time the CMU wall was put in. I believe that was 70s, 80s. So it's not, to us, a historic loss, but we can discuss. I don't know if there's anything else here to discuss. The fence, it was mentioned the fence will kind of go to the side and then go all the way to the back. It's not really true. The neighbors already have a fence, so we'll just be coming from the house to meet an existing fence with a similar look. That's the end. Let's see. I think it'd be good to bring up the site plan so you can see what we're talking about with respect to the French door, because that came up. I see. I'm going through the exhibits when I should be scrolling down. Okay. You can see here, that's the small little deck, and that's the French doors coming off the back there. So there's a door here and a door there. So yeah, the kitchen's here, and we wanted to be able to walk up and through. I don't think there's much else there to discuss. I think I can open it up to your questions.
Any questions for the applicant? So do you have a drawing of the stepping down of the wall as you were describing it, right? Did you say it was
The steps?
step down the wall, or is it going to be straight?
Yeah.
What is that going to look like?
So all we have here, I'll try to zoom in and discuss, but this is the only landscape drawing we have. So I discussed how the wall would more or less be a similar height going across. I mean, we've got, right now it's quite a big difference from one side to the other, and we'd like to have a more consistent wall. So it would break it up in two. So if the wall on one side is about 5 feet, and so our neighbor's wall is like 2.5 feet, right? So it more or less breaks it up in half to be able to have a lower wall and then set back the tiered wall. It's dimensioned here. So it looks like it's dimensioned here both levels. Looks like the lower wall is 3 feet and the upper wall 2 feet, to clarify. And I don't see a specific on the setback, because it probably is going to depend on the grade in when we get there to do it. But this is fairly representational for the idea.
So the window, the bathroom window, is that like custom matching design? In fact, you've done the drawings, architect, drawn the molds for that upper sash. So is it totally unworkable to use that upper sash and convert that into your awning window?
It's out of our budget to make that functional upper sash as a complement. Fixed window and the ventilation in the bathroom aside from the mechanical.
Yeah.
So it's not our first choice.
How about the existing door? Is it original or historic?
The existing door on the back, it's like a typical 5-panel door, unremarkable that you find inside the house. It actually looks like an interior 5-panel door that was used as an exterior door. It's full wood, and we may reuse it somewhere else in the house.
You'll keep it on the property?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have that problem for it.
And the tree, did you remove the tree?
There's nothing's been removed. So it's noted here as remove existing tree, and there's this little circle. She should have written remove existing stump. It's about this big, and it's probably about this tall, and it's kind of up the grade a little bit.
It's just a stump,
It's just
it's
in
not
the
a
way.
tree.
Get rid of it, improve planting instead.
Do we get the railing detail for the entry landing? Alex, you have?
So I supplied,
He confirmed that it was going to match the front
Okay.
railing,
yeah,
but just going to be taller to meet building code.
Okay.
Right?
we'd like to make it look identical. It'll have to be taller, but the spindles be equally sized, space, the top cap be the same. And I think we'll have to just put like a handrail underneath at handrail height
Yeah.
because the cap would be too big for modern. You know, couldn't use that as a handrail.
Any other questions? No? Thank you. Quiet. Oh, I have to open up the floor to public comment. We do have one. No?
So the only thing that about this project, first of all, this is a great project. It's gonna make this house. This is gonna make this house look so much better. It's a great house already, but this is gonna be, your investment in it will improve the street and the neighborhood, and the last thing I would wanna do is make that any more difficult. The window change on the side is the only thing that concerns me. I mean, I think from really the core focus of these guidelines should be these exterior details that are architecturally defining and visible from the street. The back, but it's not invisible. I walked by there today. Although it's also kind of a unusual looking window. Like, it is an original window. It matches the one right next to it, or it seems to be. But it's also like, well, that was an interesting architectural choice, from the get-go.
Yeah.
If there was no window there, you certainly wouldn't be like, why is there no window there? But thinking about it in terms of like the kind of core interests of the guidelines and the things that people might ask to do to their facades, and come back and say, I think replacing an original window and actually changing the size of it is probably one of the bigger things that we could do. So it does give me a little heartburn. But I don't have on that topic any sense of what we've allowed people to do. It's not on the front facade, so that's a benefit. But it's not negligible. It's not the back.
Are you mostly, I know it's a bathroom, so this is probably a dumb question. Is it just mostly the privacy? Because I don't know. I took this picture yesterday. I was creeping at your house. You can't see anything from the street for sure, but I realize obviously it might be different when it's dark with the light on or something. But
it looks red in my neighbor's
right, gotcha. That makes sense. I just wanted to double check because most of the times when we see window modifications in kitchens and bathrooms, it's for counters and or like relocating a shower or something.
Yeah, it's all the windows in the house are low. The windows down here.
Yeah.
It's a fairly big window when you're standing next to it. That'll be for the shower.
So the design, it's still the same wall for the bathroom as existing. You just moved the shower over there from the back of the house.
There wasn't cost of the other room.
Is that maybe what's part of it too, that is in shape, a little more square, like this shape? I know it's the window itself, but is it partly the skinny
I think I would think it fits in more if it was actually like half, looked more like half the height where it's like in line with the meeting grill. I mean, you know, I'm not inept to like want to change a window. You know, it's a little more compelling that it's on the side and it's, you know, there is reasoning behind it for privacy reasons. I think it would look more congruous with the house if it was a little bit taller. But we're changing the dimension either way. So.
I just want to underline my concern with, you know, getting rid of like an original window.
Am I correct in seeing that you're putting this window on the addition in the back?
No, we don't have a place for this in the other store.
Okay.
The window that's being used on the back.
Oh, it's
from
from
the
okay.
back. Yeah.
There is another window.
Okay.
You will find, I think around the neighborhood, you'll find these windows that are fixed pane, that are like just casting light into a particular, like a closet or maybe even a staircase that's going up. There are some, maybe even that's other examples of those. They're usually like some interesting shape or something like that, half circle.
It would be possible, the restoration guy might also be conjuring, you could keep that same window there and then build a wall to the inside and not have exposure from the inside to the window, but the window would stay in place.
So that from the outside it looks like a window, but there's
It's still
actually
the same window.
something.
I mean, the
Inside.
bathroom's super small already, I know, but you could maybe build a 2x3 wall sorry, I can't come up with the word, you know, to clad, basically.
Can you
color-
come up to the microphone if you're going to talk about?
Me?
Answer.
Are you talking to me? Oh. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to design from the inside out and then the outside back in and make it all work together. But it could be possible to keep that window there if you just clad the wall on the inside.
Is that a window?
Not that it would be usable for you though.
On the front facade, is that a window above
In the gable end.
in the gable end?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's got the same prism.
Yeah. Does it have the same mullions as the others?
Any other questions or comments?
I'm a little unclear about the retaining wall. I mean, I agree that the stone is definitely more attractive, but I feel like I don't see in the standards where we can change it without, I don't see it, but I don't know if I'm missing something.
Just as the standards say, retain and preserve historic walls that contribute to the overall historic character of the building or site, retain, preserve, and maintain wall materials that contribute to the character of the fence or wall. I mean, I feel like it may sound contradictory, but I don't feel like this is the same as the driveway, in my opinion, because I don't see any, like, overall, it's not like you're seeing walls all over the district.
Yeah.
Like there are concrete driveways and walkways, so I feel like they're kind of separate animals to me. So I don't think that the material of this wall contributes to the overall historic character of the site. I don't know that I've seen any tiered walls like this in front yards. That is something I think that's worth considering. Because the other standard that has to be met is siting of the new wall and location that's compatible with traditional historic relationship of walls to historic properties in the district. So
By tiered, you mean drop?
Yeah, like two
Yeah,
levels.
it is like that in the,
The terrace, I guess.
yeah, I mean, the wall there now does do that.
I'm sorry, is the plan to actually terrace it, like one wall behind the other? Okay. I think there are some like that on Cumberland and Flint, but it's like.
Are we ready? Are we done commenting?
It does sound like, from what he said, that the wall deteriorating on the other side. And I don't think we would want the, someone rebuilding one and it's going to be. This is totally a side corner, I guess, but it's not in the guidelines. Or, the guidelines just, note that stone is a preference for stone. And more and more we have these new walls in the neighborhood that are these very tightly jointed sandstone. And I think over the guidelines that's okay. If I could redraft them, I would hope that they would say something about native stone and gear people towards a more traditional look, which is these bigger joints, roughly shaped rocks. 2 houses down from you, there's a wall, really tall, and that is more regularly shaped, but it uses native stone. It's really dark. That's a total sidebar.
Back to the walkway. The concern is the change in material. Correct. Concrete to stone.
Correct. Yep, that was my concern there. So just was noting that, and just to go back to what you just said about walls, typically when we're looking at any feature, like especially landscape features, we rely on the historic features, right? So trying to be consistent with what were the historic walls is best practice, right? So native stone is typically, we've had a lot of people ask for crab orchard stone and all stuff like snapstone and stuff like that. But typically we've been okay if it's like a patio in a rear yard, but when it's a feature that's visible from the street, it's better for it to be similar to what's found in the district. It would be impossible for any new wall to match the very beautiful historic walls that are in Watford. But typically, we would see also like a mortared wall, or some of them are constructed more with this. I don't know what you call it. It's almost like contracted mortar. I have a wall like this in my front yard where you. I guess it's just got a ton of rebar in it or something. You can't see the mortar, even though it must be. Yeah, it's pretty much stacked, but. So I think that too is maybe not. It's maybe more like a landscape wall versus the more formalized stone mortared walls that are in front yards throughout the district. So.
The masons like to build this.
Oh, I know.
Because it's hard to do it well, and
they are.
Yeah.
When it comes to the wall, there's several walls in the neighborhood that we keep pointing out, and we think this looks beautiful. We'd like to do something just like this, and we're happy to send those photos, in.
Or maybe you could do a stone mirror on your existing wall, save the window, save the rest of your budget. I'm just teasing you, really.
Do you allow stone veneer walls? Because that's not our choice, but it's just a matter of curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
We did. Okay.
There's also, if you're around the neighborhood, and I don't know if this is going to be or not. just, in fact, I think there's one next door to you like that, although it hasn't built up.
Yeah, our neighbors wanted to change that to a stone wall, but it was indicated that they would be denied, so they never went for it, so it's just falling apart. Which I think is a shame, because then the entire block would all be stone wall, which I think would be pretty nice.
I want to make it just a statement for the record. And not, I don't mean this to sound offensive, but just to say that sometimes there are people say that they were told that they couldn't do something, and that's not always actually correct. You may just heard what we said and heard the feedback and take it back. So anyways, I'm just offering that because I know that there are multiple people here that live in Montford specifically, and I just want you all to feel assured that nobody, at least staff isn't not sitting in my office saying, no, you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So you're usually trying to figure out what can work for those in the district.
I'm gonna encourage them to make a more official request. There's no harm in emailing you, right? Yeah. I don't think we want to do like a stucco on the existing, because it is actually, it is unattractively falling over, and we'd have to like take up some of the sidewalk to cover it to make it straight, and then it would be uneven, and one of the two pillars is cockeyed, so it's kind of like, I don't think it was meant.
I think they got enough money to do this. You need to do it, it's appropriate.
Any more comments? No one on the floor.
So, is everybody agree with the walkway?
No.
I can't hear, sorry.
Are you looking for the walkway?
I'm okay. I think we just approved it, changing the walkway from the last one. Yeah, I don't think our process can be such, but that's a philosophical discussion that.
And it is what it is.
But I would say that the other walkway is not, like that material wasn't original to that site. It would be no difference.
Who knows? Who knows if it was or wasn't?
Yeah, I think for this one, the angle of the walkway is making me think that it's not historic.
Even though the stairway, it like meets the width of the stairway.
Because I thought that too. And also, like, if you're looking at it from the street, because it's raised up, it's not super visible. So I'm not super passionate one way or the other, which means I'm okay with the walkway.
I feel the same.
Sorry, if everybody could speak into the microphone. I can't hear.
Yes.
Maybe I'm getting deaf.
No, I
No.
think it's I think because of the leaking that we had in the ceiling, where our mics they weren't great in the first place, but I think there's some white noise thing that's making this audio terrible.
Falling
So,
apart.
like everything else, but hopefully we'll get fixed. Yeah.
I think for me, like, I'm fine with like the stone on the retaining wall and the stairs because those seem to be like one congruous like structure all in all. I'm not someone up to change the sidewalk. I'm-
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I think if you vote to make a motion to approve the walkway, I think you need to make specific lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, to define how you are allowing it in this case, so, because otherwise, like I was saying before, you're saying you are fine with changing any walkway in the district.
Yeah, that's true.
That standards don't say that's what you're supposed to do.
Unless you said it's not here requirement.
Unless you, but what, I mean, I guess that's why it's subjective.
So how,
But that may reflect,
yeah, I get, can you come back up? So let's talk about the walkway.
Okay.
Are you okay if it stays cement?
I'm okay to continue that to another time because I do need to consult with my wife.
Okay. So we could separate that from the rest?
another suggestion might be, these projects.
Hmm?
These projects do tend to spiral, and sometimes, the one benefit of this process is sometimes you get turned back on something like I got turned back on a parking change I wanted to make, which now I realize we both did. And sometimes you get turned back on something and you do your other work and
Yeah.
it's all more expensive than you think it will be, and then all of a sudden the sidewalk's not as important as it was.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, like that, it may be a while before we get around to that particular change because this is a pretty big project for us.
Right.
And the landscaping is not the first thing on the list, it's the last. So I have no problem, like, just continuing that. I'd like to get approval on the wall and the stairway, right? And just, we can talk about the walkway, we'll think about it a little bit more and see if we can make it work or if we can think of a better idea. Or if we truly do want to push it and try to make an argument for it, but
So
if
do you
that
wanna
makes it
continue?
easier for everyone tonight, I'm happy to
It makes
take
it-
that up in the future.
It makes it easier for you because you don't get denied.
That's right.
So do you want to request do you want to continue till April then, or
Yeah, April.
next month?
What week in April?
April
I know,
9th,
but the next one will be
April 9th.
April 9.
You can always tell Alex if you need
Yeah,
to
you
extend.
Yeah, but
it.
yeah, but let's continue to the next meeting, yes.
Okay. And then you can change that if you want.
Understood.
So we need a motion. Are we all good with the rest?
I thought there was a question about the window.
Yeah, the window. Where are we with the window?
I thought we'd just be talking about the window. That's my,
Well, how many no's do we have on the window?
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
I mean, if somebody said, no, this is a kind of change that we have allowed, because it's totally impractical on the inside, I would say. On the other hand, I've been in a lot of bathrooms in Montford that had a window that was uncomfortably close to the bathroom, so,
Sure.
to me, our core concern should be the architectural integrity of these structures. And
Yeah, we also have toddlers, and that's where they'll be bathing, so I don't want to have
Yeah.
that there.
Well, the code, the building department will make you place the glass, put tempered glass in there.
But, yeah, so and I got a
Or
quote.
film.
I got a quote to do that, and it's a lot.
To replace the glass.
Yeah,
in
to take the
existing
glass
glass.
out because it's like 32 individual panels of glass, right?
Oh.
That you have to take out and put back in with tempered.
Unusual shapes. You also, they'll let you do film. Film.
The film.
Protected film that you
Yeah.
apply on the outside.
This is one of the reasons.
Confused though, like that window's kind of up high, you're saying that
It's when you're standing there. When you were standing there, it may seem. I think we have an assumption that windows are a certain height, right? But they're all about knee height. Maybe a little bit between knee and waist.
it just seems like that window wouldn't be low enough to require, I don't know, to be like, to look like to you. Commissioner Humphries, that you are, our global
Yeah, our
expert.
construction, trim carpentry.
Or do you,
I don't know, but the window's existing. I think they would just help you figure out a way to use it. I don't know if they'd let you put the bathroom in front. What do you think?
We're not in public comment.
we're not in
Wait,
Oh,
public
oh.
comment period has been closed for a long time.
In my experience, if it's within 4 feet of a bathtub or shower, they will make you make it shatter. But you can do that with film. They didn't make it shatter. Yeah.
Are we taking a recess? Like, what,
Guys, what do we,
What'd you find out?
yeah.
I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, so the mic.
No. Yeah.
No, we're taking a poll. You're not. Don't change the window. Don't change the window.
I'm okay with changing the window. My focus on windows has historically been the fenestration itself, just the opening. So if there's still going to be an opening on your side, that's consistent with my side.
We got a lot.
Okay. It's harder to continue that one because we want to start construction, and the carpenter is the first thing you do. I don't have a lot of solutions there, but I think that the only solution at the moment is to continue that one as well, to have some more thought behind it. If you have any recommendations, I'm open to them, but yeah. So if we can amend to continue that.
You can do that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do
There's
it.
a safety window issue.
Is there a compromise size window, or it's just those who are on no? So you're saying historic window, keep it as it is, and everybody else is saying no?
As in, may I ask, is your position to keep it as is, no changes? And like, no, don't go like try to fix the upper sash only and cover the bottom, or?
Oh, no, you can, I mean, just, you can make modifications like to, repair the window. It's keeping the historic window in place. So if you need to change the glass out.
This would be an alteration. We would take the lower sash out and cover it.
yeah,
But
that was one of the things we talked about.
I'm more or less trying to get feedback
Which
for
that is
ideas for
allowed.
next time because.
Yeah, that's standard.
Because while I have you, I'd like to know if that's a viable option. There are downsides to that because we would, it's in a shower, and so if we have an upper sash and we modify it and that we have a void below that sash, then, we have all sorts of issues with that. You can't see water damage down there, things like that. But,
I thought it was your shower was on the other side.
no, I can bring that up if you want. But,
Oh, I'm looking at, okay, sorry, I'm looking at
this is the,
I see, sorry, I see now.
you see it? This is the modification. This is the way the layout used to be, right? And it was extremely awkward, as you can imagine, walking around this toilet to get to the vanity. So we were keeping that toilet in place and putting the shower in, which is the more logical layout.
Do you have is it like a shower enclosure, or are you gonna tile
It's
the
gonna
walls,
be
or-
like just a tub, nothing too special, a tub with a shower.
But the walls beside the window were gonna be tile, or?
Tile. Yeah, floor to ceiling tile.
So here's what the standard says. It says adding or changing original window openings shall not be permitted on the primary facade. Additional windows or door openings are desired, they should be installed on a rear or non-character defining facade of the building. Design such needs to be compatible with the overall design of the building. And the commission has many, how many, but I can recall definitely the commission allowed changes to windows on side elevations. I think we just have to obviously find that it's for a valid reason, and obviously the new unit has to be compatible, which from what obviously I know the existing window and the unit can preserve the best practice scenario, et cetera, but, I think the other issue is that the proposed unit is
interested if the building department would even let you have a shower? If you have I mean, this is the tub shower combo thing, or?
I suppose, yeah.
I just say that in the sense of if there was a safety concern.
I think they would balk at that. Yeah, I think they'd have, even if, because sometimes they don't allow you to do the film. It's kind of like inspector dependent
Yeah.
on the film, because there are some interpretations that would limit you in your use of that.
I'd be interested to hear what the building safety has to say, because I have literally the only time we've run into this issue is for countertop height, and not because it's within a shower. We've definitely seen other projects where windows within the shower. And Janice was just saying she lives in this one house that's in the shower.
The window might not be that big, but it's, if you're standing down, like I'm looking out the window, but it's frosted on the bottom part, so.
Oh, yeah, or, yeah, let's say that's very common.
But maybe Josh has something you can contact building safety about.
And then get back next
It was
month.
built that way from the beginning, because it's, well, mine's just 1940s, but it has the tile and the little cut that go all the way up. And goes in the middle. It's at the back of the house, too. So,
Sounds like it's a little higher.
just a little, yeah, when you have the double. I'm not sure the commissioners didn't, whether it was they, Commissioner Mons said it's the same window. Then they try to retain that window. Right. But you're going to do film or some other things to make it more.
Do you want a photo from the inside? Would anyone like to see a photo from the inside?
It's all fine.
Josh,
It's not gonna happen. It's
will
everyone's gonna fall in love with the window, yeah, okay,
you
mistake.
email that your photo to me so I can enter in the cards and then
That's too nice. You got one.
I mean, because it's too low. That's, it's the height is the issue, right?
Is this the kids' bathroom?
It's the only bathroom upstairs.
Reuse your coffee tub, reuse your coffee tub, and get just the shower curtains around.
We moved away from clawfoot tub because of toddlers, they slip because of the angled edges. And it's a hard surface to bang your teeth on.
Yes, it is. Then the teeth come out. Easy.
Great. Yeah, we have one at our current house and we love it.
Okay, so do you want to amend?
It sounds like we have 4 against, so I think I should amend to continue. But if I could poll the no's on what suggestions they have to bring it back in the future, so that I have some ideas.
You said,
What I would do is I would double check, like, the building permit about the code and what it would be. And then we can go from there to the, if I want to create a panel below. Because right now, we just need to double check the code on there. So I think that's a really good suggestion.
okay, so check with the code and then maybe
Come back. Just find out from building safety
what your options are.
what your options are.
Okay. Can you put me in touch with the right people?
Yeah.
And Celesta, anything?
I think for me, I don't necessarily have a problem with even bringing the window up. I mean, I do hate taking out a historic window when it's not necessarily needing to be replaced, but I understand that there's a compelling reason for a change. I think if the change makes a little more sense in the dimension, like the design overall, right now it kind of just looks like it's a tiny window that kind of just took the place of that other one. It doesn't seem, it doesn't really have any proportion to the original one to me. But I mean, I think a lot of the commissioners have a problem with just replacing a historic window overall. There is some leeway in allowing us to, take out windows on side and back elevations, but it does need to be for compelling reasons. I think yours is a compelling reason, and that's why I'm saying I will feel fine with Amish just halving it. But that's just my take on it.
Sounds like you might be okay with the upper sash being left in place. And
Yes.
Amy, it sounds like you're not okay with that. Okay. And Leslie, you were another no?
I would like to try and work it out on the outside. Not change your function, but work so that that window staying on the outside. It doesn't.
Understood. And Robert?
Yeah, that would be fun too. And if there were some, now if you found, unless buildings are looking for something, there's nothing you can do to make that window safe. If they said that, then that might be a compelling reason to go for it. I don't think they'll say that because there's a lot of windows in this. Sort of right above the top.
Okay. Yep, in the interest of time, can I move to continue that until next meeting?
So, do you want to make that request? We're gonna,
Yes, please.
the walkway and.
Both, yeah. Was there anything else that was a potential issue? No.
No.
So moved. To continue the walkway and the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will be continuing the walkway and the window till next month.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Are we going to make a motion on the rest of the items?
Yeah, are we okay with the rest? Yes? Yeah.
Sorry, who seconded the motion?
Second.
I know, well, yeah, I think we ran out of some steam.
Okay. Madam Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application and project description, 3 pages, Exhibit B, site plans, elevation drawings, and section details, 11 pages, Exhibit C, window, door, and lighting specifications, 11 pages, Exhibit D, photos of subject property, 5 pages, Exhibit E, images of landscape materials, 5 pages. Exhibit F, existing rear entry door image, received March 11th, 2025. Exhibit G, Anderson window specifications, 16 pages, received March 11th, 2025. Exhibit H, railing measurements, 5 pages, received March 11th, 2025. Exhibit I, trash enclosure images, 2 pages, received March 11th, 2025. Exhibit J, additional photograph of subject property taken by staff March 11th, 2025. Exhibit K, window and door quote, 3 pages. Exhibit L, interior photo shared by applicant on March 12th, 2025. And the Commission's actual inspection and review of subject property by all members. I move that this Commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for removal of existing shed and ADA ramp in rear yard, modification to rear elevation, including enclosure of existing entry porch, relocation of 1 original wood window, removal of 2 original wood windows and 1 existing door, and installation of new wood single light French doors, installation of 1 wood single light door, and construction of an 11-foot by 10-foot 3.5-inch deck with KDOT flooring. Siding and trim on enclosed area and modified window and door openings will be wood matching existing in material, texture, dimension, and color. Construction of new door opening and landing and stair. New door will be single light wood. Landing will be constructed with pipe.
Sorry, you put
Ipe?
such that he changed it to KDOT.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Landing will be constructed with KDOT flooring and painted wood railing matching an existing front porch railing. Installation of multiple exterior light fixtures at entryways. Site work, removal of existing concrete block retaining wall, and construction of reconfigured stone retaining walls and steps in front yard. Construction of 6-foot-tall section of wood privacy fencing and gate adjacent to south elevation. Construction of stone walkway and patio in rear yard. Construction of 18-inch tall stone seat wall in rear yard, and construction of 60-inch height by 72-inch by 42-inch painted trash enclosure adjacent to the rear elevation. All work will be in accordance with attached and approved drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the guidelines for porches, entrances, and balconies found on pages 72 to 73, decks on pages 38 through 39, lighting on pages 42 through 43, windows and doors on pages 84 through 89, demolition on pages 60 through 61, walkways, driveways, and off-street parking on pages 50 through 51, landscaping and trees on pages 40 through 41, and fences and walls on pages 36 through 37 of the Montford Historic District Design Review Standards were used to evaluate this request. 3, this application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, porch being enclosed is on rear elevation and enclosure of the design so that the historic character and features of the porch are preserved. B, existing windows and doors being removed are being either reused or retained and preserved on site. C, new entrance is on a side elevation and is compatible with the existing structure in terms of scale, detail, material, and color. D, deck will be constructed of wood and will be inset from the rear building corners. E, window and door openings being modified are on the rear elevation. Original windows and doors are not being repurposed and will be retained and preserved on site. F, lighting fixtures are understated and compatible with the historic character and residential scale of the structure, the property, and the historic district. G, existing retaining wall consists of unfinished concrete block. Location and sitting of the existing wall is being retained. New finished material will be stone. H, new section of fencing will be no taller than 6 feet, set back at least 1 foot beyond the front facade, and is designated in keeping the historic character of the neighborhood and architectural style of the house. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, revised site plan will be submitted for staff review and approval. And 2, existing windows and doors being removed will be retained and preserved on site.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, we just have a few other business items. And I know you've been waiting a long time. Chair, do you want to just do comments from?
Yes. Do we have any other comments from the gallery?
Two matters that I wanted to discuss with you all tonight. The first is that I saw on the agenda for this evening that the HRC award is under consideration, and I wasn't able to stick around last month to hear the discussion due to small children. Is there a list that you all have available that has past recipients available? Okay. And as I was sitting here tonight, I was just thinking about that, and having gone through the process a few times in the past, wanted to, if the name is already not on the list this year or otherwise already been awarded, a deceased member of our community named Woody Farmer, who was a longtime member of this very committee. He and his family have generationally contributed to Biltmore Village. They are there today His father was instrumental in the preservation of Biltmore Village way back in the 50s and 60s as well. And I shared with Alex a few minutes ago an excerpt from the website that his family has put together. His obituary is pages long. He is just was an amazing guy, and we used to have a few laughs in here when he would refer to the chairman as the most honorable chairman. And I was just looking over this as we were seated here tonight, and one thing these are Woody's own words, right, that I thought you guys might want to hear. It's on the website that Alex will surely distribute. So he says, we all have a contribution to make because we all can all offer different perspectives, memories, and interpretations of who we are and where we're going. It has been my longtime hope that my own passion for history and storytelling will contribute in some small way to our collective understanding of the world around us. And I think that Woody was ultimately the vice chair of this group some time ago, and then he passed away last February from a long illness, and I hadn't heard about that until somewhat recently, so that was surprising to me that he had passed away. So I think that would be a fitting recipient. I know in the last several years we've had several folks be put up for the HRC award, 2 or 3, I think in 23, and I know that there were 2 last year, fairly certain on that. So if that decision's not already made, I'd certainly like to try and get you all to think about Woody and maybe hear some others' input on that from those who knew him like myself. And, just by way of example, every year during our annual Christmas event, he would personally pay for the large Christmas tree that was put up in the village green, which was a delight to all who were concerned, and he made arrangements for one of his past clients to do that. So a real stalwart in the community, and it's a shame we lost him too soon. He was only like 76, I think. So that's that one. Okay, and then this one's a little bit unusual. I'm not exactly sure how to raise the issue. So some years ago, I think it was 2010, when I was on a different side of the argument here, the city was involved with the life safety addition to the courthouse and or the jail, maybe, I think it was 2010. But in any event, this body got involved with approving modifications to the courthouse. And I think the city made the application at that time, which was fascinating to see that the city was following the same rules that it tells everyone else to follow with respect to landmark buildings. And then we saw that again with the elevators back around 2019 in this building, which was a fun one to be involved with, and so forth and so on. And those of us in Biltmore Village are now at a spot where some businesses will be opening in the next 15 to 20 days. Who knows? But, we've had some that, like Ruth's Chris, that have been open all along. So, we're starting to have some issues that are arising with respect to waste and refuse. And, it's not necessarily properly before you all tonight for a full purview, but I want you all to kind of look around town, see what makes sense to you all as we can try and encourage the city, if appropriate, to put trash cans that will be congruent with the district back down there. It's a pressing need for us. Huh? There's one or two, and I understand that they were problematic for the city for a couple of reasons, and we're sensitive to that. Our concern is, as we start getting more and more foot traffic down there, we need some sort of guidance, and if we can, get federal funds to pay for these items and maybe reconsider it a year or two down the road as far as ornate or whatever, we're in favor of just getting the trash where it needs to be and serviced routinely. And, that may or may not come before you all, but if we need to be encouraging some folks in other departments of the city to file applications, I would fully support that as well. But we had a long Merchants Association meeting today, and I was told to tell you that nobody cares what they look like, we just need them down there. So that's on the messenger on that, and certainly
Is that really the sentiment of everybody? Do they just don't care?
all that were present today, it was
Does everybody know what our standard trash receptacles look like? The really wacky looking R2D2 things? Yeah, so right now what's down there are the old brown metal ones we have all over town. We don't have this anymore. And we've got, if you walk out here, there are ones much more.
Is the camera on and I can show a screenshot of what the ones at Pack Square Park look like? No?
You can pass your phone around.
Okay, yeah, here you go. So they're look like this.
They're just very plain, and so I sent that to the person in sanitation who emailed me about the other ones and just said these would be way more appropriate. They're saying those are managed by Parks Department and those are managed by sanitation. So it's just an internal thing that we had to get sorted out.
Yeah, we're just at a point of desperation and
I didn't
anything.
realize that they were just like not doing anything. She didn't ever.
And we could go for more, right? Like there's a whole lot of needs that we have down there, but it's to the extent that you need some sort of consensus from us, like I'm here to represent that we just need it done. And if you all have to consider that, please look around town and be ready as the city brings this to you, because in the next 60 to 90 days, we're hoping these things are down there, because as folks come down there, they start overflowing all the time, and then that's back in the streets and gutters, and we're doing everything possible to beautify the village. And that brings to light a third matter to talk about. The Biltmore Company, Asheville Greenworks, the Merchants Association, and others are working very diligently to beautify Biltmore Village. We're proud of that partnership. We all rely upon one another down there, and the Biltmore Company has donated or will be donating a significant sum to Greenworks to underwrite some of those efforts, and we're grateful for that. So if you all are interested, we'll try to get you on board as well, make an appearance. If you want to do some shoveling and raking, come on. But I think that there's going to be a contractor doing some significant work to make this beautification effort happen soon. And the goal is around April the 1st, so that as we come into the springtime, the village will come back alive. And
What does the scope of work entail?
I don't know every single detail, but essentially they're most concerned about Biltmore Avenue from roughly I-40 northbound to just past Swananoa River Road, where I think it's Meadow Road is the intersection.
Oh, I think they want to do some like fence off
Yeah, and just street cleaning and right-of-way and sidewalks, and there's, a bit of a disconnect, and this isn't to cast stones. I mean, we're dealing with a disaster here, but that is the main thoroughfare that will be attacked first in the phasing. Then the secondary would be along, I guess it's All Souls there, and transfers into McDowell at the bridge. I don't know the exact termination point there, but it would start at Biltmore Avenue, I would imagine, end on the other side of the bridge near Little Pigs. I don't know. And then the third priority would be from the intersection at Brook and Biltmore, I think it's Lodge Street there, down Sweeten Creek Road toward the former Moe's Barbecue in that corridor. So we're going to we've had groups started reaching out, and it's to a point where the community can safely help us, and we're excited about that. But one of my friends told me today that a certain church has offered 100 volunteers when we're ready, and I think they can deliver on that promise. So, there's a lot of good stuff happening, and sometimes that doesn't make it into the media, and we certainly appreciate all you volunteers do and staff.
Can you tell us who's opening? Can you tell us who's opening?
So we have some of that is sort of contractually, non-disclosures and things like that. But we have every indication that all of our nationals will be returning, and then the mom and pops, it's a hit or miss kind of situation. And I know that the Well-Bred Cafe has stated they will not be back, as well as the Cantina, and I think that is the case for Fig. So there's just a lot of folks fighting with insurance companies, especially the single, unit business owners or single property owners. So it's just a mixed bag, but folks seem to have the right attitude, and things are headed in the right direction as a general kind of measure. So that's what the latest is from the village, and thank you again for hearing all my rambling thoughts. But don't forget Woody.
So do you think that, is Asheville Greenworks going to organize volunteer days, or is there a way to?
Yes, so we'll be working on some details with that on Friday, and as those details are kind of set in stone with the contractor and the stakeholders and Biltmore Company, et cetera, Greenworks is evidently going to put forth some sort of website to assess the number of volunteers, the sort of equipment and know-how that would be available and so forth. So when we have that web link, I'll be glad to pass it your way. So that's, probably within the next 30 to 40 days that workday. Yeah, and it'll be, the hope is to get it on social media and so forth and so on. It's just, we have gotten a lot of attention on the news and otherwise, and last month's happenings here were positive from my point of view with that too, so.
That it's moving as quickly as.
I think that there's just a lot of confusion, frankly, and some folks are more sophisticated with legalese than others, and I don't want to get into that in a public forum right now.
I'm just thinking generally, because I know there's been a lot of
Just-
discussion about it.
I would
And
just
we've worked
say-
on the variance process.
I would just say from my experience, it's, I don't know, when I explain this, but we have formed this FAST team, which is the floodplain assistant support team, which is staff from different disciplines, building safety, our board of justice, staff liaison, floodplain administration, et cetera. We decided to form this new team to be available to meet with property owners and their contractors and whomever as a group so that we can answer questions in a holistic way instead of someone calling me, someone calling this person, and blah, blah, blah. So it's been, I think the meetings have been going okay, but then to Ben's point, I think everybody, it's first of all, going through the variance process is not, it's a little bit hard if you're a layperson to absorb that information. It can be kind of complicated. And so the more folks who have contractors in the room with them, the better, because that person understands, okay, this is what this flooding law means, from meeting our floodplain regulations to the extent possible and stuff like that. So my experience has been there that most of the folks who've met us so far have it's hard. It's just a challenge.
My impression is that a lot of folks just simply do not understand that the National Flood Insurance Program goes back to the 1960s, that those guidelines therefore then inform what happens with FEMA-backed flood insurance, so forth and so on. And the city is just the easy scapegoat rather than maybe understanding that the congressional representatives in the 60s helped set this framework up. But, it is what it is, and that's where patience is a virtue always to truly try and help people understand that these aren't new rules necessarily, and that the processes have been there for a long time, and they're more or less uniform across the country. But people are desperate, people are scared, and they're confused. So you all are doing a great job administering a disaster, which I hope none of us ever live to see again. So it's been a partnership always with city staff and otherwise around here. So we're going to get there, and that's all my remarks on that.
The good news is that all the applications that we've seen from our village so far have been minor work applications. Like, literally, we had one major work, and that was a McDonald's project. So it wasn't a historic building. So that's a testament to how, historic buildings can test their time. So at least glad that we can make it easier for people in that way and not have to prolong it by making things major work or doing stuff.
I'm going to break something. So all of that is just, I think some of the more complex projects are just taking longer, insurance claims, what have you. So we'll see where some of that goes over time. But again, we're down there, we're making efforts, and we're looking forward to having all of you come and patronize our businesses soon. Thank you.
Okay, just a few other items.
Brain.
Officers that will be shortly after
And the executive officer or?
The existing officer.
The positions are the chair, co-chair.
Chair, vice chair, second vice chair, third vice chair, and third chair.
Wow. Third vice.
I'm assuming that we had a secretary and treasurer at some point, and they maybe needed this other thing.
City commissions as well as the staff.
I think it was treasurer.
And basically the,
I just wondered if we had a treasurer in previous years because they, like the commission doesn't have some property I don't know. Anyways, it just was.
It is kind of cumbersome. We would just sort of, instead of revising the bylaws, we just keep going with it. It's probably because it's quasi-judicial and you want experienced people. If somebody's out who's a chair, then have a vice chair ready to go, and then sometimes if they're out. I think that's what.
and also those are the people who can meet together without the full commission, without it being a public meeting. Is that
No,
right?
it's still, we still follow the committee.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Exactly.
we haven't been meeting since, we had a long pause because of COVID, and now we've had a long pause because of the meetings. That was going on, we need to start meeting, getting us back. The next item on the other business is our educational event. I think I covered this last time, when we got the COG grant last year. We have to, we got from the state for facilitating educational event or events. So we have to spend that money. We just finally got your council with the resolution and budget amendment to set the money and enter into the contract with the state. So we're working on the contract documents now. And then we'll have the group that will steer that work with the commission members and then each SHPO staff and then also Recreation Society and any other stakeholders can help us figure out what we're going to do for an event. For the one event, we got $10,500 for this. And we can spend money back every year. So that would be something that the executive committee would need to help with as well as resuming the longer standard minutes. Resuming the airlines as far as standard educational members. And thank you for sharing that paper, Steve, for don't have to sell on your taxes. There's other James work and so forth. And Mitchell, you were also
That's right.
for an award. Spoiler alert, sorry. So anyways, just be thinking on that because you guys will need to do your, not like formal nominations for that next meeting so that we can give the award at the meeting, which normally, like I said, we usually are at the Griffin Awards, but BSABC is promoting the Griffin Awards this year to host their gala, their annual fundraising gala, which was the week after.
I know, I called them, I'm like, are you not posting? Like, oh yeah, I'm like, you're looking at the weather and you're gonna have it. She's like, yeah, we're having it.
Well, there are tickets for the time traveling gala on their website right now if you want to go, but the place that they're having it this year is something that knows how in Black Mountain, and it looks really incredible.
It's amazing. Well, that's where they were gonna have it on September 28th.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's
Be the small oaks now.
Yeah. God.
in the lesser oaks.
The tiny oaks.
Apparently it has a speakeasy in it, like it's an old, like unoccupied house that is in Black Mountain College.
They did so much work last year.
So anyways, if you want to support them, go for it. They've done so much great work. I mean, $250,000 grants
They've been
from the storm. So they've done a lot of amazing work. Another preservation thing to note, on a positive happening, positive happening is Cappadocia Church next door, and so they were able to acquire the property and are working on redevelopment of it. And so anyways, long story short, there is an event next week that I wanted to let you all know about that PSABC is facilitating. It's Thursday, March 20th, 5:30. It's at the Hopkins Chapel and Zion Church on College Place. And it is, they're going to be telling the story of the little house. Cappadocia is still not another one. They haven't funded that. Anyways, they're going to tell the story about the demo and all of that, and how it's been permanently protected to use housing for perpetuity. So it's a great success story of planets aligning. So if you want to go check that out, they're also doing a tour after the call. 32 Rail Street is the highest housing.
I can't remember, oh no, it was during orientation, you mentioned something about an appeal on a project that we're on. Yeah. I thought the appeal was as to something in the backyard.
I mean, not the driveway, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, the wall.
Yeah, that, so there's a provision in the statutes under quasi-judicial procedures that I guess has been in there a long time, but nobody's ever utilized it, but it says the city council has the authority to settle any decisions made, so we did settle, which I don't think we ever publicize what the settlement is, and I think we can, I want to check it. But the wall is allowed to stand. There was some negotiation about money that, and who got given to the city. It was going, I believe it was going to go to the because this was a Montford Historic District, right?
The
So we were
Stumptown,
going to Stumptown.
I forget what their organization is called. I should know, and I can look it up. I just.
But originally, I think the applicant proposed that there was a school on his lot. So that didn't work, but no, the council felt that Stumptown needs to be related to.
Second.
Thanks, guys. And we talked about one time maybe getting together at some point.
I know, I wanted to go see the Andrea Clark exhibit at the Asheville